No better way to welcome spring yet again than starting with this scene. Under the limelight of a post lamp, a couple stood alone. The man confessed his love to the woman, saying how he adores everything about her, from her beautiful eyes to her too short bangs. His words made the woman blush. Even I, a heterosexual adult male, was kicking my feet and giggling as they embraced each other. Plot twist. That never happened. In reality, like our main character here, I just sat in the room, watching this scene unfold. Meet Haibara Natsuki, the average Japanese man who, despite having a huge library of entertainment to make him forget about the limbo state that is his existence, decided to re-watch this melodrama movie only to sit there once the movie finished and wonder about the psyche of people who re-watch movies. After all, where's the fun in watching a movie you know how it will play out? Anywho, the reason he picked it was that he had nothing else better to do. The silver lining here, however, is that Natsu saw this 7-year-old movie under a new light. The protagonist of the movie repeatedly traveled through time so he could end up with the girl he loves. The main man realized that knowing what happens next is what grants you the perspective to know what you should and shouldn't have done way back then. Such ideas can keep a YN awake, not because they are imagining a timeline where every choice was correct, but because they are recalling every F-up from the past. Looking back at his life in a broader perspective, one certain moment from Natsu's first year of high school was the turning point for him. A student confronted Natsu in class alone and told him that he'd stop covering for him. He even admitted that our boy pissed him off. That said, you know what the saddest part is in all of this? Believe or not, Natsu is in fact an introvert, yet he tried to be an outgoing person in high school. Sadly, he failed miserably. The best way he could describe his 3 high school years was colorless and gray. And like any depressed young adult, Natsu's moment of peace was on the balcony with a cig in hand. He had learned from his mistakes and avoided disaster in college. After completing the class credits he needed to graduate, our boy secured a stable future, now working in an infrastructure company. Basically, from that moment in high school, the main character was set to have an ordinary graduation, job, and life. Even though he had an ordinary, happy life ahead of him, Natsu could never let go of his teenage regrets. The rainbow-colored teenage years were no longer his to have. He recalled a memory of him confessing his feelings to a girl named Hoshimiya Hikari and asking her out behind the school building. Hikari apologized in rejection. Natsu pulled out his phone to look up Hikari, but then changed his mind. He knew everyone regretted their teens not going the way they wanted. Natsu then looked up at the starry night sky and offered a little prayer. He wished he could redo his teenage years. And kaboom! Falling out of bed, Natsu woke up dazed. Consequently, he went to check in the mirror if there was any damage done to his well-drawn face. And the damage was done. His jawline got nuked by high levels of cholesterol, albeit he was looking young again. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles young again. Or whatever that means. What I am trying to say here is that the boy was confused as frick. His sister, Namika, entered to check up on him. At that moment, Natsu thought his sister was in cosplay since she was wearing a school uniform. From his POV, she was starting her 2nd year of college this year, so she'd be too old to accidentally put on her middle school uniform. Regardless, Namika did not appreciate his POV, no matter what timeline he was from. Immediately, Natsu thought back to the wish he had made and asked Namika what year it was currently. Namika confirmed that the year was 2014. Natsu pinched himself hard, but nothing happened. Seeing her big bro being a sussy baka first thing in the morning, Namika told him to get some well-needed rest after graduation and left. Natsu checked his phone and confirmed the date, but was still in disbelief that he had traveled in time by 7 years, so he did the only logical thing he could: sleep this miracle off, and hopefully everything would get back to normal. Around noon, Natsuki's mom woke him up and congratulated him on graduating, as well as apologized for not being able to attend the ceremony. Then Mama Natsu noticed how pale he looked and left him to rest till dinner time. Since he was back in the past, no Samurai Jack. Natsu decided not to waste time on how it happened and focused on the bottom line. Redo his life, starting from his disastrous high school experience. This time, he'd live his teenage years to the fullest and repaint the gray adolescence with a rainbow color. Having thought 1,000 times about what he should have done differently, Natsu knew exactly what to do. Lock the frick in and get on that grind set. With roughly 1 month until his high school entrance ceremony, he decided to use that time for his self-improvement arc. In the past, he'd think up a million excuses to give up at this point, but not again. We're talking push-ups, sit-ups, and running. The Saitama workout schedule was rock and loaded, as well as his looks maxing list. First thing he ditched was the telescope-thick eyeglasses for some contacts, and then decided to hit the beauty salon to get his hair styled. And just like that, a month flew by quickly. At the end of it, Natsu looked like a completely different person. Namika walked up to him before his daily training and wondered if that truly was her brother. She was impressed but acted like she couldn't care less. During his jog, Natsu ran into Motomiya Miori, who was walking her dog. Miori could barely recognize him. The two were childhood friends who went to the same school since they were in kindergarten. Miori rubbed her eyes and asked him what had happened to him. Natsu told her that he had decided to do strength training during his free time. Miori teased him about his transformation and his desire to have a high school debut event. Regardless, she was proud of his hard work. Natsu, not having any friends in middle school, made it harder for them to talk. He bit back at her, saying she was still a snot-nosed tomboy. While parting ways, Miori asked Natsu what school he was going to for high school. Natsu told her that he was going to attend Ryome High. They found out that they were going to attend the same school once again. The day of the entrance ceremony came. Natsu felt nervous walking to school while several female students stared at how attractive he was. He was confused and thought he still looked like a creep even after losing weight. Proving once again, looks can carry you so far, but the rest is all about confidence. Or so I've been told before, every time I get hit with the "no, I have a boyfriend." Beneath the sakura trees stood the girl he sought. Hikari looked back at him in silence. One thing is for sure, though, Miori clears. Speaking of friends, Nane's Ueno caught up to Hikari, and they both headed to school. That chance meeting reminded Natsu of one of his goals in this redo. He wanted Hikari to like him, a line I write with a heavy heart. I pray for the tomboy's ship. Nearby, he overheard a trio talking to each other. A short girl, Sakura Uda, was happy to be sharing a class with her friends Ri and Tatsu. Here's a fast rundown on these starter Pokemon. 1. Uda is energetic and expressive. 2. Shiratori Rei is mature and calm. 3. Najira Tatsuya is tall and intimidating. Suddenly, Ri noticed Natsu watching them and apologized for the noise. Natsu didn't mind seeing three friends get along with each other so well. Rei revealed that the three of them attended the same middle school. The boys introduced themselves to each other. Natsu reeled when Tatsu talked to him. Tatsu was the person who was telling Natsu that he'd stopped covering for him in his previous experience. Tatsu walked up and admired how fit the new kid was. He was surprised that Natsu was this fit without ever joining any sports clubs. Uda interrupted their conversation by copying a feel of Natsu's abs. He was very flustered. She introduced herself afterwards. Soon after, when Natsu and his new friends entered the class, Uda spotted Hikari, and she ran up to her, calling her super cute. She wanted to claim Hikari for herself. Sadly, Ri stepped in and was like, "Get the F out from here. You and Yuri type shite. You scaring the huzz." Surprisingly, Yuno doubled down with Uda. Turns out, ever since middle school, Hikari has been regarded as the most beautiful girl in their school. Hikari was used to getting complimented and teased by Ueno. Natsu, who, mind you, is a full-grown man, saw this as his chance to get closer to the 15-year-old. Luckily, Ueno and Hikari attended the same middle school, and so did the trio. Meaning, only Natsu was the odd one out. Thus, just like Big Yahoo, he let himself be known, yet deep down, he still felt that he didn't belong in that region, regardless of being promised a fresh new start. Lucky for him, Ueno and Hikari introduced themselves in return, and Ueno wanted to ally herself with him. So she offered Hikari's info, like hobbies and whatnot, on a platter of gold. Meanwhile, Hikari just wanted peace of mind, so she said, "I'm not that beautiful." However, unfortunately for Hiki, all eyes on her. Then the old man from the future pointed out that she couldn't claim that she wasn't beautiful. His remark made Hikari's face turn tomato red as she thanked him. Subsequently, the loser got scared that he had said something rude and apologized. Yuno, however, came in clutch and commented on the fact that Hikari rarely blushed when someone complimented her these days. Hearing this, Hikari begged her friend to stop teasing her before turning back to Natsu with a smile. Natsu was happy that his road to a better high school experience was already going well. Later, during homeroom introductions, Natsu recalled how he went about it last time. Natsu introduced himself in a very cringy and cartoonish way. He talked about his love for reading and watching movies while striking poses. He also said his dream was to make 100 friends and wished he could get along with everyone. The way he went about it left the entire class in shock. Even I caught secondhand impressment, and am not saying this to hate, just for the cause of hating. After class, Uda asked Natsu to join her and her friends, along with Yuno and Hikari, while checking out clubs, and the simp joyfully agreed. Hikari sought out the literature club. Her beauty made all the members blush. The leader awkwardly accepted her request to sit in. Natsu couldn't help but admire how an extrovert could handle awkward people. Afterwards, they went to watch the soccer club in action. 3 members ran up to Rei. They recognized him as Ashima's captain and were happy to have him join. Rei was happy to meet Fuji Middle School's three idiots again. On the basketball court, Uda was jumping in excitement. Hikari compared her joy to that of a little kid. Uda went on a rant, trying to deflect her remark. She asked if it was a diss at her height or a comment about her small chest that was definitely going to improve. The longer she went on, the more depressed she got from her own words. Tatsu tried to stop her, but then a club member spotted him and was dragged off to basketball practice against his own will. Miori happened to walk in and see Natsu. He quietly begged her to spare him. Miori, being the best girl she is, congratulated him on how much better he was doing already. Rei saw them interacting and commented on how close they were. And funny enough, they both disagreed. Miori told Rei how handsome she found him, and the two of them immediately hit it off, addressing each other on a first-name basis. Miori whispered to Natsu and told him that his high school debut was going well. Also, she asked him to be her wingman for Rei, and in exchange, she'd help him with something he wanted. Fast forward to next week, and the group is depressed. Yuda's basketball practice was cancelled for a couple of days since the gym was closed for work. Thus, Hikari suggested they go somewhere during the weekend to fill up the free time. Uda was overjoyed to go on a date with Hikari. Tatsu was also free, so he suggested they all go out together. Naturally, the girl's girl did not appreciate his interfering with their date. Nonetheless, Hikari agreed. She thought going out together would be more fun. Yuno agreed to go since Hikari was going. Rei suggested Saturday afternoon after his club meeting. Natsu agreed with no restrictions, since he wasn't in any club yet, but yet again even if he was, he would try to make it. Anyways, after the school day ended, Hyakuri put on her shoes and got ready to leave. Natsu approached her and asked if she was going to leave alone. Yuno was busy, leaving her to walk home alone. Natsu took the chance and suggested they walk home together. Hikari agreed. On the way back home, Natsu asked her why she wasn't meeting up with the literature club. Hikari said that her club only met twice on weekdays. Natsu figured out during the past week that Hikari's club doesn't meet on Fridays. Meanwhile, Yuno has lessons on Friday, which means Hikari is without her usual companion on those days. Even though it was a simple invitation to walk home together, an introvert like Natsu couldn't do it without planning to a creepy degree. Hikari wondered what they should do the next day since they all agreed to hang out, but didn't make any concrete plans. Natsu suggested they plan it together online during the night. Hikari paused and made a group chat since they didn't have one yet. She then asked Natsu for group name suggestions. Promptly, he threw out the title, Hoshimiya Fan Club. Hikari said it was weird to make a group named after her. They both laughed. Oh, only if this sweet summer child knew she was talking to a man who could legally vote. Never mind. The more I think about the angrier I get. Long story short, Hikari decided to name the group Natsuki-kun Family. Natsu was flustered. Yuno immediately joined the group. Hikari asked him to look her way and snapped a picture of him. Her smile as she showed Natsu a picture of himself on her phone made him turn red like a tomato. She set it as the group icon since it was named after him. Natsu asked her to look at him while he also snuck in a photo of her. Hikari blushed. He switched the group icon to her picture instead. Hikari settled the back and forth by coming up close to Natsu and snapping a picture of them together for the group icon. Yuno's first text on the group chat was asking Hikari and Natsu not to flirt in the group chat. Hikari's face was beet red as she replied to Yuino, saying that they weren't flirting. Natsu happily looked at the picture of the two of them together. His plan for a colorful adolescence had just started. Wearing his tracksuit, Natsuki sat on his bed with all of his clothes spread out. He got a phone call from Miori asking him to meet up. Miori wanted to gather information on her Rei. Natsuki wondered when Rei became hers, but showed up to the meeting spot regardless. Seeing his drip, Miori didn't appreciate it and noted how lame for him to show up to meet a girl in a tracksuit. Mind you, it was the same crusty suit he was wearing the day they first met in a while. Natsuki, however, proudly claimed that this was the most decent outfit he had. Miori couldn't help her facial expression at that information. In exchange for information about Rei, Natsuki wanted a favor from Miori. Since he and his new friend group were set to meet up, he desperately needed someone with a sense of style to help him pick out an outfit. Later that night, the two walk out of Fashion Center Unislo with the goods. Natsuki thanked Miori for helping him. Knowing that she was the only person he could genuinely ask for help from, she felt like they were the perfect partners in crime. They renewed their agreement to help Miori learn more about Rei to get close to him, while she helped Natsuki make his high school debut a success and even helped him get a girlfriend. That said, believe me, these two would have their own ambiguous arc. Trust, I've watched way too many slice-of-life romance school trash. This whole help me get with your friend shenanigans is almost always a front which author uses for a complicated love hexagon later on. Just you wait. For now, the group meets up at the spot they set for their day out. Each one of them looks stylish in a casual manner, Natsuki included. Hikari strikes up a conversation with Natsuki on their way to the sports center. She asked him about his outfit. His first instinct was to ask her if it looked lame. Hikari thought the complete opposite. She found it quite stylish, so in his head, Natsuki thanked Miori before working up the nerve to tell Hikari that her outfit looked cool. Hikari teased him a bit about calling her outfit cool instead of cute. With a smile on her face, she confessed that she preferred androgynous fashion, so she really appreciated his compliment. At that moment, the line, "Hikari is so cute," flooded Natsuki's head. The simping stopped once they reached the sports center. There, Yuta jumped around, excited about which sport they'd try out first. Ray chose table tennis since it was the only one free at the moment. Hikari crossed her arms and proudly said that she was actually pretty good at table tennis, even though she was terrible at every other sport. With such a bold proclamation, Tatsu immediately challenged her to a game. She was trying to chicken out when Yuta jumped in and said he'd have to go through her first. Tatsu was more than happy to take her on, even though he felt like he had become the evil boss character. Hearing this, a sly dog named Natsuki took his shot at inviting Hikari to a game of their own. With a warm expression, Hikari gladly accepted and asked he go easy on her. "Hikari's so cute," flooded Natsuki's head again. While Yuta and Tatsu's game was already heating up, Natsuki and Hikari decided they'd do without the intensity in theirs. Meanwhile, from the sidelines, Yuno cheered Hikari, so Ri decided he'd root for Natsuki, who suggested they set up a tournament. It was on. Natsuki hit the ball gently, only for Hikari to miss by a long shot. The main man figured she needed a bit to warm up, or not. Every ball Natsuki hit towards Hikari ended with her completely missing it. Yuno encouraged the boy to say what everyone was thinking. Hence, Nat tried to be as gentlemanly as a gentleman could be, saying how he was amazed by Hikari's confidence, even though she was absolutely trash. We might have paraphrased there, but that's the gist of it. Yuino couldn't help but agree, adding that Hikari's only flaw was her devastatingly poor athletic abilities. Natsuki was surprised since she was the one who suggested coming to this place on their day out together. Hikari puffed up her cheeks and said she still enjoyed sports despite being terrible at them. "Hikari's so cute" flooded Natsuki's head yet again. And I keep repeating these insignificant thoughts because it annoyed me, and they should annoy you too. Luckily, this reincarnated simp had some self-awareness and noticed how that was the only thought he had all day. The first round of games had all three boys win against the girls. Thus, the semifinals were between Ray and Natsuki. Ray won and moved on to the final boss, who claimed that this game would settle their longtime rivalry. Ray accepted even though he won most of the time against him. Sadly, for the big red machine, history repeats itself. By 2 points, Ray comes out on top. Tatsu then suggested they move on to the next sport. Natsuki, however, thought they were going to have a break. Hearing this, Tatsu got fired up, for he wanted to take advantage of every second they had, since their time there was limited, before walking away like a boss, looking for a bat to swing and ease his frustration after the defeat. Uda, being a confidence queen, told the group that they could just let Tatsu go on his own. With that being said, Hikari thought that it would be mean to treat a friend like that. Ray and Yuino, however, noted how really close friends wouldn't mind such things, and since they all considered each other close enough means they don't have to be so considerate all the time. All of this was new to Natsuki. He never built relationships like that outside of family. Meanwhile, Ray observed Natsuki closely as he watched Tatsu walk away. Shortly after, the group sat down to enjoy some drinks. Even though it was not their initial intent, Yuta toasted to the start of high school, thinking it would be a nice way to signify their newfound bond as friends. Hikari found it so cute that Yuta could say such goofy stuff without being embarrassed and gave her head pats. Coincidentally, Yuino saw her chance to give Hikari some head pats and call her cute as well. The boys, on the other hand, started a circle jerk. Ray complimented Natsuki on how he kept up with him and Tatsu just fine despite not belonging to any sports team. Uda reminded everyone that Natsuki's abs were shredded before Tatsu put his hand on Natsuki's shoulder and doubled down on the compliments, and wondered why Natsuki didn't want to join any sports teams. Puss Boy appeared a bit uncomfortable. The lame said that he wants to find a job during his free time since he was broke. Hearing the 3 cursed letters JOB put together, prompted Tatsu to pull his hand away and confess that he couldn't help since he had never worked before. Ray and Yuta began suggesting possible jobs he could pick up. Yuino then suggested he pass by her workplace. Everyone went quiet. Hikari got up in surprise since she didn't know Yuino was employed. Yuino casually talked about her job at a nearby cafe called Cafe Mares. She was pretty satisfied with her work there, so she felt like Natsuki would be happy there as well. He agreed to pass by and check it out. Yuino noticed that Hikari was sulking. Hikari didn't appreciate that this information was kept secret from her until Natsuki brought up the subject of work. For some nonsensical reason, Natsuki thought this was a hint that Yuino was interested in him. Yuino made it clear that she was going to tell Hikari eventually, but the timing was right since Natsuki opened the subject. Yuino's statement helped Natsuki understand that his previous thought was indeed a complete misunderstanding. Truly, you can't unlame a lame, even if he regresses. Anyways, Mr. She's Into Me got up to get a drink refill. Subsequently, Rei followed after him. The pretty boy confronted Natsuki about his behavior around Tatsu. He could tell Natsuki didn't like him, to which the latter asked why he'd think that. Rei noticed that despite everyone getting so close recently, Natsuki avoided doing things with just Tatsu. His observation was correct. He didn't say anything until now, thinking they were still getting used to each other, but today had felt different. His impression was that Natsuki was afraid of Tatsu. He apologized if he was overstepping with that assumption. At the moment, I thought how nice it would be if a random chimed into rage bait and said, "Couldn't be me." Alas, Natsuki agreed with Rei. He said that the issue stemmed from him and that Tatsu did nothing wrong. Deep down, the negative emotions that he brought with him from his previous teen experience had been slipping out subconsciously. Therefore, he asked Rie to keep this a secret while he sorted out the problem on his end. Rie agreed and said that he didn't have the right to do anything in the first place. He felt like addressing it might help since Tatsu was so obtuse to pick up on it himself. As friends, he got worried and thought Natsuki was worried about something, which prompted him to ask. Rei trusted Natsuki to resolve this on his own and went back to the group. Natsuki was impressed by this side of Rei. After getting rested, Tatsu and Uta ran onto the basketball court. Their excitement is a sight to behold since they just had basketball practice the day before. They really love the sport, especially when playing it for fun. Natsuki had flashbacks to when he used to play it in high school. Rei then threw him the ball. Despite everything that had happened, Natsuki liked the sport a lot. Even though everyone hated him in high school, he kept practicing all the way till college. He hadn't touched a ball since starting over, but he could feel it in his bones. He was in the zone that day. The boy jumped and threw a perfect three-pointer. I mean, his form, his flick and through, easily would have made Natsuki a good Kuroko no Basket NPC. But here, our boy is the main character. All of his friends were impressed by his play. The ball then bounced back to him, and he was like, "You think that was cool? Watch this." And he threw another perfect shot. He could feel the advantage his new muscles and trained physique gave him. Uta and Rei praised him. Yuta insisted that he join the school's team, but the lame ninja declined since he had never played on a team before. Yuta got up close and called him a genius if that was the case. He told her it was thanks to the personal training he did in his free time. Yuta asked if there was a spot for Natsuki on the team while Tatsu was still silently watching. When he realized they were talking to him, he said the surprise froze him up. Yuta kept pulling on Natsuki's shirt, telling him to join the team instead of wasting his potential taking up a job. Tatsu said he couldn't gauge if Natsuki was worth joining the team until he saw him play some more. He challenged Natsuki to a one-on-one, first to 3. To get over his previous trauma, Natsu agreed to the challenge. My boy, Big T, had this regress tweaking from day one over the fact that he didn't want to cover for his loser-ass way back then. And although Tatsu got a bit bummed at first since Uta and Hikari only cheered for Natsuki, I cheered for him from the bottom of my heart. For this was my Olympics, this was my Super Bowl. And I prayed that Big T floor this fraud completely and utterly. Diddy then looked over to Hikari, who was cheering for him. He wanted to show off for her. Using my goat's own advice about footwork that he learned during his first experience and practiced in secret, Natsuki blew past Tatsu and scored the first point. It was Tatsu's turn to try to score. Natsuki recognized the maneuver Tatsu was going for. A fake left, followed by a right drive. He saw him do it to his opponents for 3 full years. When Tatsu tried to fake him, Natsuki swatted the ball out of his hand. Natsuki called it half instinct. Luckily, this fraud knew he'd have no chance against a third-year Tatsuya on court. From his hacker perspective, this first-year version still had a lot of flaws, and he took advantage of it. Bouncing the ball between his legs, he managed to score another point by going around Tatsu. Tatsu decided it was time to play seriously. He took the ball and quickly dashed past Natsuki to score a point, for he wasn't the team's ace for nothing. Natsuki inspired himself again by looking over at Hikari quietly cheering him on. He always wanted to beat Tatsu in basketball, and this was his chance. During his first high school experience, Natsuki was kept on the sidelines in the basketball club. Everyone hated him being there, but no one bullied him. Thanks to the team captain and ace, Tatsu didn't let people talk shit about him behind his back, and it was thanks to him that his grade teen years weren't worse off. Proving, Big T has always been a great guy. It's this loser who did something to piss off best boy. Unfortunately, Natsuki stole the ball from Tatsu before he could score his second point and set himself up to score a winning point. He finally realized that the fear he felt towards Tatsu was because he shone too brightly for him. Tatsu was so brilliant that he couldn't face him head-on. Natsuki jumped and threw a three-point shot that Tatsu couldn't get to in time. He knew they were not equals and was afraid he'd hate him. Despite that, Natsuki truly wanted them to be friends this time. The ball went in, and Natsuki won using cheats. Tatsu lay on the ground, exhausted and undefeated, for I don't believe a shimp from the future who knows his flow move for move is deserving of the win. Yuta ran up and grabbed Natsuki by the arms, swinging them in celebration. He was happy but too awkward to know how to celebrate. Tatsu got up and looked at Natsuki's joyful expression. His defeat was washed over by a sense of happiness for his friend. This was the end of episode 2. Subscribe to not miss the next part.